landmark by 5. This is the dungeon. This castle was built at the time the transatlantic slave trade was at its peak. This is why the dining way is different from all the other castles. Other castles dining were warehouses, especially that of Elmina. Portuguese came there, go here. See, earlier they said they were here as explorers, 2 missionaries, 3 to buy your gold. So they name your land Gold Coast, La Côte d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast. And finally, they said they needed strong men and women to go and do hard work for them in Americas and the Caribbean communities that they had discovered. And therefore, the native Indians were unable to cope with the prevailing climatic conditions at the time that very little were either dead or sick. So they needed the Africans. And that was why the trade lasted for such a very long time. If the few that they took there at the initial stage all died within a short space of time, trust me, the trade wouldn't have lasted for even 50 years. But there was the case, those that they took there, they adapted the environment and they were working for the masters. If that was the case, let's go there and get more of such resources. So we had the French, the Danes, the Dutch, the Brandenburgers from Germany all coming in crisscrossing. And therefore, if you arrive here and where you want to be already, you found a group there and we're still interested in the area because of the location. To get the land, you needed to find it. So Portuguese abandoned this area where we have the graves because the Dutch had fought them in Elmina in 1637. They left for Angola, Mozambique, Equatorial Guinea, Kenya, Gabon, formerly Cape Lopez. And then Swedish expanded the Portuguese structure to bricks. They call it Fort Carlsberg. The Danes occupied, the Dutch did, and finally English made it what it is today. And it was built in stages from 1664. Construction materials. 10 bricks here, literally bought from India, Italy, police and local. And in between the bricks, the mortar here composed of ground oyster shells and lime. So they are
Limestone.
Limestone. So they are saying no cement, no iron rod. Okay. We have samples of the materials available in a certain museum. After the tour, just remind me, I will let you see.
Limestone.
Shall we move down?
Serious.
So there is no issue. Find a place here. Alright, and where you are, you turn about a 180 degrees and look at the bottom. See that portion is also screwed.
Sure.
Good. So after that logical way, what they did was they added landmarks to the materials found and spread it in the first 4 rooms, leaving the main room just visited for the demarcation. Here we have African traditional temple. It forms part of our heritage. Our culture is some of us. We pray, we worship our Maker before the coming of Islamic faith, and then the Europeans also added the Christian faith. Object of worship here is the rock. Elsewhere, lakes, rivers, and lagoons are used. The night table is the name. The priest in charge.
I know.
Nana Tibri, you may say Nana Tibri, but you say the priest in charge is not around at the moment, so we can't have a libation made or pour. And from this angle, all the way to this side. There is a very huge underground tunnel behind this wall. You are on it already. The rest didn't go except my brother wanted us to take off before he went there. Don't you worry, all of us shall work on it again. I will take you to an angle, you see part of it, then we move on to figure that. When the men were here, there was no altar this way. So it was an open space where either you move like this to join the women at door of no return. It was around 1834, a year after slavery finally ended in British West Africa, that this tunnel was sealed. And this is why you can see it. But don't you worry. Is that when you get there, look at it and make a determination how deep, wide, dangerous it is. When we get there, we shall see it. Remember, 1807, when it was first promulgated the British Parliament, they didn't stop that there. Abolished slavery. They continued, and later William Wilberforce, Thomas Clarkson, Bishop, Chief Justice of India at the time, as well as all his team, continuously keeping the slave trade, and eventually we are victorious now. And here we have some great presented by our own selves, corporate bodies, individuals, as we celebrate Emancipation Day Festival, Pan-African Historical Theatre Festival. And last 3 years, we added a year of return to the whole festival. I don't know how many of us watch it on various social media houses here. And that was so well attended. Either you join a group of 30 on a tour, or you don't get a guide at all within that short space of time. But then only as far as 3 months later, a certain 19-year-old boy came into the world and disrupted the whole activities and is still tormenting the worlds of economists. That 19-year-old boy is still with us. And we are afraid of him. Who could that person be? COVID. It's COVID-19. It's only 19 years. Oh. Our graduates call him COVID-19. So we are doing this boy. COVID-19 is a Tuesday. Let me take this opportunity to welcome my sisters and brothers. You've been away for 780 seconds. My name is Morgan Mesa. Good afternoon. Elmina Castle, English 1664. Don't worry, we'll continue the tour after. Whatever you miss within this period, I'll let you know. Okay? So, as I said, the tunnel that begins from this side that was closed, we are going to see it immediately. We had dealt with the graves and then the tunnels. Earlier on, I was just telling them that there's a passage behind this wall. When the passage was there was no shrine here that the men had to walk through to join the women at door of no return. But once the slave trade was officially declared over in 1833, the following year, 1834, Captain Elmina Castle ensured that the tunnel was safe. We are going out to see it after our okay. Let you see the first go where you miss. Alright. Let's continue. I have a surprise for you. Man, lead them. Go to the first room. At the moment we want to why?
You see the bomb?
Environment.
That's why it's the bomb.
surprised. I did the same thing to them. I turned on the light for you to have a feel of the darkness of the place. The whole dungeon about 700 to 1,000 people came there at the given time. Ladies and gentlemen, so shocking. Above the male dungeon here was a church. The name-giving Society for the Propagation of the Gospel and Preaching, which later metamorphosed to Anglican Church. Here in Ghana, Methodist Church of Ghana started in this castle, Roman Catholic Church, Elmina, Elmina Church, the Castle in Accra. So Christianity in Ghana, we all see the roots. So one of our major fundamental advocacy that we give to our brothers and sisters visiting the castle is that do not judge over you. We don't judge. You need not lie the story, yes, but leave judgment in the hands of the Creator. If you should go by the stories here, you never go to church again. You never go to church again. But remember, somebody created you. Courtyard of the castle, 3 European graves and 1 African isolated. Philip by name, isolated one, first Ghanaian African to become Reverend Minister in the Anglican Communion, ordained somewhere 17th of May 1765 after his study abroad. Thomas and William, who joined him there, died 8 weeks upon arrival. In fact, it was a scholarship that was given to them by the Committee of London Merchants here, proposed by one Reverend Minister from the church by name Thomas Thomason, who says he, as a pastor officiating the sermon, he might not be around all the time. So therefore, there was a need to train some locals. What he said, the security officers, they gave him that assignment, and the 3 were taking them. Unfortunately, 2 died and he survived. He died here in 1816, 1875, after a short illness, to say old age. But when he came to do the sermon, at a point in time, he didn't support whatever was going on here. Now, you, one man fighting 1,000, it is not easy to win. Yeah. So we had so many challenges with the officers over here. Let's get closer to the 3 and see. That's it, Philip Kweku.
Okay.
PQ. And the 3 years with the man and the governor. C.B. Whitehead by name, a British soldier, died when the English Dutch were fighting on our land. But he says, English said they believe malaria killed their son, 38 years. And this one, the George McLean man who spearheaded the closure of the tunnel and president of the London Merchants, spent close to 17 years here and also died of malaria attack. And here we have the wife Letitia in London. Coming to say hello, my dear, I've missed you. Only as far as 2 months later, Letitia was found dead in one of the rooms there. So much controversy they raised. While some put in yellow fever, malaria, others said she poisoned herself out of jealousy because when she arrived here from London, she found out that her husband Maclean was having another woman by name Ellen Bannerman as concubine. So because of insecurity, she decided to end her life. And then the last group said Ellen might have gone out with Maclean to poison Letitia dead. So wonderful people, Reverend Ministers, as I speak to you now, Philip Kweku, old 875, C.B. White and Dan short 38, George McLean, malaria, 46 confirmed, Letitia Elizabeth, London, 36 years, and here we have yellow fever, malaria, suicide, poison, jealousy. Choose any of them, you are correct. Careful with your phones and shades.
The tunnel.
No.
It was a well.
Water system.
Oh, there's still water in there.
Oh, those are the backup balloons. One thing we pay you. This is why you pay. So no. From the boost, the time, forget. So that was what I was saying. Logically, they brought them out. You know, they have sat for one corner for 2 hours. So without stiffer muscles, there was a need to bring them here to flex it. So we're doing that, and God gave you water. That was your shower. That was your shower. Mortar balls here, cannon balls this way. Let us be on top of the tunnel. Then we'll talk about it. Construction of sea defense underway to protect the coastal belt of Ghana from devastating waves. A boat from this cannot move 500 meters at short and then 1,000 meters from the bigger ones. All these used by the English to protect their lives and properties. They were here until 65 years ago when Ghana gained her political independence, before they finally left the shores of Gold Coast. Had it not been these canals, somewhere 1787, the French, nearly over came the English ship, but they were lucky. The English were lucky they had established all these weapons. So those of you who were not here, you have 60 seconds to take selfish. You are here already. See. In your background. Oh. You already took it. Because selfish. You didn't take it back now. Selfish. Hey, being selfish for that. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a female dungeon. We are near at the end of the tunnel. From the shrine. I will tell the women who have joined the main here. Initial exit or door of no return to Kenya, bigger ships to the Americas and Caribbean communities. Later, they closed the side before the trade ended because of the behavior of the seawater. Sometimes, and whenever it's in high tide, canoes capsize, already in shackles. So by the time the rescue team will come to save your life,
Finished.
you can't swim. And they realized they were losing so many of them. Close this side and let them come out this way, and created a new door of no return, which is now very close to the female dungeon. And ladies and gentlemen, remember that before they confine them to their respective dungeons, hot diameter from fire, oil,
Trademark.
because of differences in ownership. Company A, B, C, D bought all of us here. Now the ship from England arrived. Company B is claiming ownership of everyone here. Will B, A, and C agree to that?
No.
But if it happened that Company A bought all of us here, there was no need branding us. Because nobody is competing with him. And therefore, everyone here belongs to him. But here, because of the multiplicity of ownership, that was why they chose that hard way. Yeah. Any question before we go to female dungeon? Kabla, this is the third and the last slave castle in Ghana. This is the third and the last castle in Ghana. How many castles are there for in Ghana? Listen to the English. That is it. It's three.
Well done.
Let's see the fifth member.
What?
Punishment cell for our sisters who said no to officers' desire. Who should then go lock iron bar right? Things about food violence in and out this. So until you change your mind, you will be there. And what he will do for you to change your mind, he will do everything possible. No matter how defiant you were over there, he will simply come and call you. Okay, then come, carry one of the black balls over there, the mortar balls. 20 to 30 kg. For how long will you hold it? So eventually,
Given.
in the case of Elmina, that you tie one leg to the ball and allows you to move. When that happens, straight to the shore, wash off free water system, fetch back here and into the bedroom, after the rape back to the dungeons. However, if for a reason or two, you became his personal concubine, you no more be in the dungeon nor the punishment cell. They had cottages around, or better to stay in the castle where you wash and you cook for them. With time, some conceived and then gave birth to the Euro-African children.
All right.
So what they have to do was to name the children mostly after European names. I.e. Michelle, Vanessa, Margaret, Van Dyke, Van der Port, Robert Smith, Bramwell, Romeo, Hudson, Hughes. If you were baptized to Christian faith, you are called to Rebecca, Elizabeth. And this explains why in Ghana, along the coastal belts, it is easy to come by European names being used by a section of Ghanaians. Pick every 10 out of 20 people. European names. And if you go to the middle of Ghana, i.e. Kumasi, Sunyani, Winchi, Tichima, Pintampo, and the rest is the traditional names. Yabuatima, Upuku, Uyebua, Asantua, Kunebu, Mefia, and the rest. And then the northern Ghana is the Mohammedans. Abbas Husseini, Inusa, Rakia, Rabia, and the rest. But for coastal belt, it's William, Hudson, Martin. You and I don't know. Wow.
Okay.
I didn't mention my first name to you either. Huh? Did I mention my name to you? No. I did. After welcoming you, you remember? Morgan Mensah. But I am Robert Morgan with this skin. Robert Morgan. How bad? Guess what? My paternal grandfather was a staff here in Elmina as well. So you see where the name is coming from?
Yeah.
We go to Accra, the Banda Boys, Mills, and here, Boham, Martels also common in Elmina. So Castle Hayford. Say, I want to use a woman. Fair. Castle Hayford line is the same. Mesa Saba, there's a line. The Bannerman brothers and sisters. The Bannerman lady that trouble in Tisha London. Bannerman father was James Bannerman over here, the governor at the time, and the mother Africa. Born bred, the Chinese Sissy, no, or her Letitia at the time. And they were the genesis of colonial education in our country today. So that they gave birth to new African men and the officers. They established schools for them. So formal education in the country today started from classes schools. Because they knew a time may come whereby they, the merchant officers, may not be around. So their children will take over from them, rightly so it happened. Let's see the video there.
Things rough. Sorry.
Ladies and gentlemen, 150 to 250 women on records were kept here at a given time and same opposite us. Earlier I said to my people that Asimans will be in the last piece of path. Asimans is on the Cape Coast Kumasi Highway about 65 kilometers away. The river still flows as I speak to you. And that area, the centers that were chosen by some top echelons to have them on the bed. Those people did several times in a shower. And we need to celebrate